The darkness of night is broken by the light of dawn on a battle-scarred field. Broken rifles, torn flags, silence. 600,000 Americans have died in the Civil War. The last shot has been fired. The Union survives. Slavery is abolished. But for 4 million free men, the war is not over yet. ACT won. Born from ashes. 1865 to 1867. In 1866, the U.S. Congress was faced with a question it had never faced before. For a million people, once considered property, were now citizens. Where would they go? What would be done with them? Congress found an answer: the Army Reorganization Act of 1866. This act created 6 all-black regiments, the 9th and 10th Cavalry and 4 infantry regiments. They were sent where no white soldier would go, into the American Wild West. Who were these men? Former slaves from Mississippi and Georgia, free blacks from Ohio and Pennsylvania, sons of those who had fought in the Civil War, ages 16 to 40. Many could not read. Some had never been outside their own counties, but all volunteered. Because in 1867 America, a black man was called sir only in the Army. They were given the oldest weapons, the weakest horses, the fewest rations, and the most dangerous missions. Yet they went because there was nowhere to turn. There was no way but forward. ACT, too, the name that defined them, 1867 to 1870. Before dawn broke on the Texas prairie, a cavalry troop moved through the tall grass. Seeing these black soldiers, Cheyenne warriors gave them a name. Historians still debate why they got this name. Some say it was because of their thick, curly hair that resembled bison fur. Others say it was because of their fierce fighting style. But one thing everyone agrees on: the buffalo was sacred to the Native Americans, the most powerful animal. And that's what they called these black soldiers, buffalo soldiers. The soldiers took this name with pride. They had the buffalo symbol engraved on their regimental badges. A country that didn't even consider them human. Their enemies named them after the most respected animal. That was their identity. Their scope of work was unimaginable. They patrolled thousands of miles across Texas, Kansas, New Mexico, and Colorado. They chased outlaws and criminals. They guarded telegraph lines. They built new roads. They guarded the U.S. mail. They protected settlers from Apache and Comanche attacks. Between 1867 and 1896, they fought in more than 130 battles, and they had the lowest desertion rate in the entire U.S. Army, just 6% compared to more than 32% in the white regiments. They did not run away, because there was no better place to run. ACT 3, Fire and Dust, the Battles, 1870 to 1890. May 1881, a small settlement in New Mexico, Ojo Caliente. Apache warriors attacked in the middle of the night. Inside were women, children, and a few armed civilians. There was only one man and his 25 soldiers to protect them, Sergeant George Jordan, 9th Cavalry. The battle raged all night. Jordan formed his men into a rotating defense, not allowing the Apaches to find a breach. Dawn came. The settlement held. Not a single civilian was killed. For this bravery, Sergeant George Jordan received the Medal of Honor, America's highest military honor. But 2 weeks later, when he went to a nearby town and wanted to spend the night at a hotel, he was turned away. Another incredible story among the Buffalo Soldiers is that of Cathay Williams. This Missouri woman, freed from slavery, joined the Army in 1866 disguised as a man under the name William Cathay. She was the only known woman to serve in the regular American Army in the 19th century. After about 2 years of service, an Army surgeon discovered that she was a woman. Immediate discharge. Later, she applied for a military pension, which was denied. She died in poverty in 1893. America has almost completely forgotten her. The first Buffalo soldier to receive the Medal of Honor was Emanuel Stantz. Only 5 feet tall, this man was called Black Snake by his fellow soldiers. Fast, unpredictable, fearless. In 1870, during a 2-day battle in Texas, he led a small band of men to repel multiple Apache attacks and recover stolen horses. He won the Medal of Honor. But on Christmas Day 1887, he was shot and killed near Fort Robinson. The killers were never officially identified. Many historians believe they were soldiers from his own regiment who felt humiliated to take orders from a black man. ACT-4, Heroes Without a Home, 1890 to 1900. A Buffalo soldier stepped off the train in full uniform. The Medal of Honor glittered on his chest. The station master looked at him and said, "Colored waiting room is around the back." The soldier looked at his Medal of Honor, then at the station master. He said nothing. He walked back. That was the reality. On Monday, you can win the highest military honor in the country. On Tuesday, you have to use a separate water tap. Entire towns in Texas would ban Buffalo soldiers. In Kansas, the sign on the door of saloon, "No colored." If you defend yourself, you will be court-martialed. If you remain silent, you are a coward. Act 5, The World Stage, Cuba, 1898. The Cuban jungle is scorching hot. Spanish rifle fire is blazing down the hill. The American soldiers are trapped at the foot of San Juan Hill. Casualties mounting, the attack stalled. Then the 9th and 10th Cavalry, the Buffalo soldiers, begin to climb the hill alongside Theodore Roosevelt's famous Rough Riders. They charge with a barrage of bullets. Historians who have studied the battle in detail say the Buffalo soldiers' role was crucial. Without them, the Rough Riders could not have reached the top. At first, Theodore Roosevelt publicly praised the Buffalo soldiers. Later, after entering politics, he changed his narrative and downplayed their contribution. The historical record does not support this second version. When those who are supposed to protect you erase your story, that wound is the deepest. Act 6, The Echo Today, Why This Still Matters. Houston's Buffalo Soldiers National Museum. The camera pans slowly. Photographs, medals, uniforms in glass cases. An elderly black veteran sits in a wheelchair, looking at a picture of soldiers on horseback. The Buffalo soldiers served on the American frontier for 30 years between 1866 and 1896. They won 20 Medals of Honor. They protected settlers, built roads, built telegraph lines, and made the expansion of America's West possible. And for most of the 20th century, their story was almost entirely absent from American history books. In 1992, a monument to the Buffalo soldiers was unveiled at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, dedicated by General Colin Powell, the U.S. Army's first black chairman of the Joint Chiefs. It was the first major national recognition of their service in 125 years since the formation of the 10th Cavalry. When black Americans took to the streets in 2020 after the killing of George Floyd, the question they were asking was a new version of the same question the Buffalo soldiers took to war. Why does this country keep asking us to prove over and over again that our lives are worth living? Black Americans still make up about 19% of the U.S. military, but only 9% of the officer ranks. The gap between service and recognition, the gap between sacrifice and reward has narrowed, but not closed. Closing sequence. Fort Concho Cemetery in Texas. The early morning sun is rising slowly. Many of the graves are unmarked, just field stones, no names. A black family stands there, a grandmother, her adult son, her teenage daughter. Most of their names have been lost. Records have not been kept properly, often intentionally. We know a few: George Jordan, Emmanuel Stance, Henry Flipper, Cathay Williams. But most of the 9,000 men who served as Buffalo soldiers between 1866 and 1896 are known only by their service numbers, if at all. But they were here. They marched through heat and snowstorms and ambushes. They built the roads you drive on now. They protected the cities you live in now. They served a country that was still deciding whether to include them. The teenage girl placed her hand on an unmarked rock. Then the three men walked away. They grew smaller and smaller against a vast Texas sky. They didn't want gratitude. They just wanted what every soldier wants: to be seen, to be remembered, to be important. Fade to black. The Buffalo soldiers were officially demobilized in 1944, when the Army began desegregating. They served in every major American conflict from the Civil War to World War II. Cathay Williams never received his pension. He died in poverty in 1893. Henry O. Flipper was pardoned in 1999, 59 years after his death. The end.